Chapter 1. System activated. Host found. Two burly men wearing all black suits standing beside a giant gate with a dashing look. The gate is about 10 meters high with some gold ornaments attached around it, giving off a majestic and beautiful impression. Behind the gate, there is a super beautiful white mansion in which lots of luxury sports cars are parked. Many people passed by in the vicinity, only ending up leaving expressions of awe and envy. How is it not? Those within it were one of the richest families in Fresno City, the Velasco Great family. At this time, the drizzle suddenly came, causing one of the burly men to take long steps to get an umbrella in the small room at the far side of the gate. However, his steps had to be stopped when he saw a man with a wrecked bicycle heading towards the gate. The burly man then stayed where he was while keeping his hands behind his back. He waited for the man to arrive in front of him, even though the drizzle was slowly getting heavier, wet his expensive black shirt. In fact, other burly men also chose to do the same when they saw the man on the bicycle. "Good afternoon, sir. Is Mrs. Villalon in?" asked the man on the bicycle after arriving in front of the first burly man. On his face, there were several bruises and his appearance was very messy. If other people saw and judged him, they would say that his occupation was that of a beggar or delinquent. "I'll ask first, Mr. Carlos." The burly man then entered the white room at the far side of the gate. After a while, he came back and saying, "Sorry, Mr. Carlos, Mrs. Villalon doesn't want to see you." Hearing that, Carlos couldn't hide his disappointed face. Even though he could have guessed this outcome, it still hurt to find out that was what happened. "Couldn't Mrs. Villalon give me a moment? My mother is very ill. I'm not even sure if she will be able to survive today. Please tell to Mrs. Villalon I need her help," said Carlos with a pitiful face. He had no other hope but to seek help from them, family from his father. Seeing Carlos, a feeling of pity welled up in the burly man's heart. So he took long steps towards the white room, but once again returned with the same answer. "This damn family is indeed heartless. What did Mrs. Villalon say to make her not even want to meet me?" Carlos naturally did not want to give up. His mother's life was on the edge. Even if Mrs. Villalon asked him to kiss her feet, Carlos would gladly do it if it was for his mother's sake. "Sorry, Mr. Carlos, I can't." The burly man's voice suddenly stopped as the giant gate slowly opened. Shortly after, a limited edition luxury sports car branded Lamborghini Aventador came out of it. It is one of the most expensive cars in the world, which has a price of up to $4 million. Seeing him, the burly man hurriedly left Carlos and immediately headed towards then bowed very politely. Meanwhile, Carlos just stood where he was with an annoyed expression. He knew exactly who was behind the car. That person was named James Velasco, his father's youngest brother. However, even though James was his uncle, their relationship was actually quite bad. At this point, James noticed the presence of Carlos, who was with a wrecked bicycle. With a condescending expression, he opened his car window while saying, "What makes an illegitimate child like you come to our home?" When the window was opened, Carlos could see a beautiful young woman sitting next to James. She was the wife of the man beside her, who also came from a super wealthy family in the Fresno City. His expression was indifferent, as if she didn't even notice Carlos being there. "What does that have to do with you? I'm still part of the Velasco family. What's wrong with visiting my own family's home?" Hearing that, James's face immediately turned red as if it might explode at any moment. "Part of the Velasco family? Don't even dream. Ever since your father married you're that bitch, he's automatically no longer part of our family, bitch you say." Carlos roared angrily. He had no problem whatsoever when he was insulted. However, it's a different story when it comes to his mother. At this point, Carlos raised his right hand and prepared to punch James in the face. However, the two burly men who were near the giant gate immediately came to hold him back, giving him such a strong grip that Carlos couldn't move or breathe. "This bastard wants to beat me. Guards, kick him out of here and make sure not to have him coming again in the future." James said as he looked at Carlos's face with disdain. His nature is very similar to filthy mother. Meanwhile, even though they felt sorry for Carlos, but keeping their jobs came first, they then pulled Carlos away from James, then threw him to the side empty road. "Forgive us, Mr. Carlos, but you must leave and never come back." Hearing that, Carlos immediately turned to James and said, "Damn family. One day, I will destroy your family. If today my mother dies, I will place all the blame on this family." Carlos roared angrily once again. His face was dark red and looked filled with hatred. "Ha ha ha, destroying the Velasco family? You probably won't be able to match up to 1% of this family's wealth even after a lifetime of work. Don't even dream of reaching for the sky if you're just a frog." James laughed again after that. He had never heard a more ridiculous joke in his life. At this point, Carlos still wore an expression filled with hatred. However, James's words were true. He's just a student who works part-time as a cleaning service in a small company that has a salary of $15 an hour. How could he possibly destroy the Velasco family, which has a total wealth of billions of dollars? That is, of course, impossible. Carlos instantly realized how ridiculous his words were. Even if he was given life choice, it would still be impossible. However, a moment later, a square blue hologram filled his vision, followed by a sentence written in the center. "Host found. System activated. Huh. What is this?"